Hi everyone, my name is Courtney Kudera and I am the Research Experience and Data Program Manager here at Headwater Science Institute. And today is the annual Big Day of Giving celebration for nonprofits and the impact they have on their communities. So Headwaters has a goal of raising $28,000 from today's fundraisers. So donations help with keeping costs low for schools for our science education programming, providing scholarships for programs like the Research Experience, and providing free curriculum and resources for teachers. So if you could give today at bigdayofgiving.org/organization/headwaters, every dollar helps. Um, Today, we're here with Keira Scott, who participated in last summer's research experience. We appreciate all of our alumni who come back to talk about their experiences and in the program. And I had the pleasure and privilege to be Keira's mentor. So, Keira, I'm really excited to catch up with you and see how you're doing. So I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself. You can say, of course, your name and where you go to school and some of your aspirations for the upcoming year.
Hi, my name is Keira Scott. I'm a senior at Truckee High School, and next year I'm attending Bowdoin College, and I plan to study Earth and Oceanographic Science there and cross-country ski on their team.
That's so awesome. That's super cool. So last summer is when you were in the research program. So what was your research project? What was the topic and what did you find?
I focused on finding correlations between like biotic and abiotic factors in alpine meadows, just like in the local Truckee area. And I was specifically focused on soil pH and soil moisture and the correlation there, and then how those two factors related to plant density and species diversity.
Wow, that sounds right up your alley, especially given your upcoming studies. So, how do you think that influenced your choice to choose this major area of studies at Bowdoin?
I really enjoyed the research in the field that Headwaters allowed me to do, like getting out there, spending all day in the field, taking the soil pH readings and taking samples of plants. And I'd been interested in science before, but realized that I really wanted to um, pursue a career that was more like either like lab focused or where I could be like immersed in the outdoors. So Headwaters was super cool because it combined my love of the outdoors with science.
That's awesome. My next question here for you is how did you feel throughout the experience? What was it like being in the research experience class?
So I came into the research experience class being a little bit unsure about what I wanted to study. I had so many different things I was interested in, and Courtney, I don't know if you remember one of our first calls. I was like, I don't know what to do. So just being like a little bit overwhelmed about how many options there were of things to study. And then once I narrowed down my research topic, just based off of criteria, like I wanted to stay local and things I was interested in the area, it became super fun because I learned some more about like statistics and analyzing data and data collection techniques. Um, and I mean, I really, really enjoyed the experience, and it was incredible that it all came together in 8 weeks. I wish I'd had more time, but it was really cool.
You were definitely in a quick cohort. 8 weeks was really fast. So you kind of already touched on this, but what do you think your biggest challenge was throughout the experience?
I think definitely identifying the question I was going to be researching. Um, Even my final product, the paper I wrote focused on like a lot of different relationships because I couldn't pick just one. Um, and I think like narrowing it down was the most difficult part. But then like having mentorship from Courtney and also some other Headwater staff weighed in about like how to conduct my research too was super helpful because I'd never done anything like this before. So they suggested that I use like the quadrat system and create like a little transect from the creek and split them into equal dimension, little squares, and then examine the properties within each square. So that was really helpful, and it was great to just have like the mentorship and the guidance.
Yeah, and it was unique because you came to class with me and I usually teach the class and most students have like a secondary mentor, but you had me for both. You lucked out. You got double. So You kind of already mentioned this, but curious to know, like, what are you doing now and what are some of your future science plans?
Yeah, so I'm currently finishing out my senior year at Truckee High, and I do want to study science in college. I'm leaning towards earth and oceanographic science, but also might do something with biology or chemistry. I'm not sure yet. And then after college, I want to become a scientific researcher or work in like environmental engineering with energy and that kind of thing.
That there's going to be an abundance of that, especially as you graduate college. It's super exciting. So, what was your favorite part of the experiment or the experience?
I think my favorite part were the field days. So just being able to go out and I spent a few days where like I was in the field for like 6 hours and just methodically setting out my quadrats and recording my data, and it was super cool to be just like out in the field doing research because I love the outdoors. And as a bonus, I got to hike to get to my research location, so that was cool too.
It's always fun when you get to have research surrounded by like something that you really love. And you did some research local here in Truckee. Can you share with everyone like what some of those locations were and like if you remember some of your major findings?
Yeah, so the first location I surveyed was South Prosser Creek, so like a segment of the creek down in your valley, up by Tahoe Donner. And I found a negative correlation between soil moisture and soil pH. So at lower soil moistures, the pH was higher, and at higher soil moistures, the pH was lower or more acidic. So that was probably my strongest research finding. And then I also found um, that like higher soil moistures were correlated to higher plant densities, which makes sense because those were the quadrats that were closer to the stream. And then my second research location was Alder Creek, kind of by the nature trail.
Mhm.
Also up in Tahoe Donner, it was about 3 miles away from the Your Valley location. And I had very similar findings there, even though the meadow to forest transition zone looked a little bit different, like the species were different. But the correlations with soil moisture and soil pH and also species diversity and plant density were similar in that location as well.
And I remember you started off wanting to identify a lot of different plants and then had to change. Were there other like major changes? Because I think that's so important to talk about in the science community because so many people they have to change their research project. So if you could speak a little bit to that, just so other folks can hear another story that's similar to theirs.
Yeah, so that is true. I did have to pivot with that part of my research project because I initially wanted to identify all the different plants that I was finding. And I downloaded a bunch of like plant identification apps and was taking pictures. And then it came up with like 1,000 possible species. And I was like, I am not a botanist. I'm not qualified to determine what plant this is. So then I pivoted to just measure species diversity, so like the number of species in the quadrat that I could identify were different, even if I didn't know exactly what specific species each one was. Another one, like another sort of pivot that I had to do was just not measuring as many research locations. I did 15 quadrats in 2 locations because the field days were so long, I couldn't get to another location in time. And I also measured my 2 locations about 2 weeks apart. So that wasn't ideal from a research findings perspective because I'm pretty sure it rained somewhere in there in those 2 weeks. Um, but just because of like timing, I couldn't get the research and data back to back. So those were just a few ways that my project changed.
Yeah, no, it's great to hear about. And so many people's projects are like that, and it happens all the time in science. But it's good to talk about them so future students can see, oh, this is how Kira pivoted. This is how I'm going to have to pivot, especially in the science world. But regardless, thank you so much, Kira, for chatting with us today. It's our big day of giving. It's really nice to be able to highlight an alumni and catch up. I'm super excited for you to be going off to school in Maine and to be on the cross country ski team. I'm sure you're going to do great and have a lot of great things ahead of you in a very bright future. So thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and bring you down here. And just a quick reminder is today is our big day of giving. Every dollar counts so we can continue our science education programming for students like Keira and other students. This gives us availability to give lower costs to schools, so there can be more science research experience for a variety of students from elementary school to high school. We can give out scholarships to students like Keira for the research experience. And our goal today is $20,000. So tell everyone you know, because we really, really want to make science education as accessible as possible so we can keep having wonderful projects like Keira. Thank you all so, so much, and we'll talk with you soon. Bye, everyone.